strategy is perhaps the defending choice of cellular communication systems. Here, in the earlier generations of cellular systems, have been popularly referred to as simply as FDMA in the first generation, and notably that is AMPS, followed by TDMA, 2G GSM or IS54, and then CDMA for 2G IS95. Here, the AMPS is analog mobile phone system, and 3G WCDMA. Here in the wireless communication, the LTE evolved from the 3G WCDMA standards body but does not use CDMA. Here in the LTE employs two different multiple access approaches, both of which are effectively hybrids of TDMA and FDMA adapted in the multi-carrier modulation. Here in the downlink LTE utilizes the orthogonal frequency division multiple access, that is YFDMA, in the wireless communication systems, while in the uplink single carrier frequency division multiple access. In the uplink, we are going to use the single carrier frequency division multiple access, that is SCFDMA, is going to be preferred. Here, conceptually, and practically, these approaches are very similar, and both allocate each subscriber some portion of the subcarriers, that is the frequency of the channel, or for some duration of time. Here, because of LTE traffic is expected to be very diverse, it including VoIP, that is voice over internet protocol, video streaming, and the broadband data sessions. Here, the multiple access schemes need to be highly flexible and efficient in the wireless communication system. Here, it must be flexible enough to support many low rate continuous voice streams, and it also providing very high data rates over a very short time periods of broadband data users. Here, while simultaneously handling these two very different types of traffic efficiently poses major challenges for the design of the protocol. Here in this chapter, mainly we are going to study the OFDMA and SCFDMA in the following steps. The first step is to multiple access techniques are overviewed with special attention to their interaction with the OFDMA modulation. Here we are interacting with the OFDM modulation. In the second step, the OFDMA and SCFDMA are described and their particular features and trade-offs are discussed. We are going to discuss the OFDMA and the SCFDMA trade-offs and particular features we are going to study. And the third point is the key potential source of parameter, the performance gain of the OFDMA and SCFDMA multi-user diversity harnessed through the adaptive scheduling of the users, and that is the adaptive modulation per user. And we are going to describe several possible approaches to the resource allocation and to weigh the trade-offs. In the next, we are going to study the OFDMA and SCFDMA implementations in the LTE, along with the challenges and opportunities. We are going to make them perform better in the wireless communication channel. And next, we are going to study the multi-access for the OFDMA system. Here, the OFDMA is not multiple access strategy, but rather it is a technique for mitigating frequency sensitivity, that is inter-symbol interference, that is ISI. Here, the OFDMA does, however, create a many parallel streams for the data that can be principal be used by different users. Here the OFDM has wide acceptance in wireless communications as an appropriate broadband modulation schemes. Here the OFDMA divides a wideband frequency selective channel into a narrowband flat fading subchannels. In this channel, the OFDM is going to divide a wideband frequency selective channels into a narrowband fading subchannels. Here the use of the adaptive techniques in these subchannels can further increase the spectral efficiency of the wireless systems. Here by using the adaptive techniques, we can increase the spectral efficiency of the wireless system. And in the multi-user systems, these subchannels can be allocated among with the different users to provide the multiple access schemes. Here in these systems, the subchannels are going to be allocated among with different users to provide the multiple access schemes. Here in the most previous OFDMA systems such as DSL 802.11 A and earlier 802.16 WiMAX systems have been used, and what they can be called as single user OFDM or often simply OFDM. The all subscribers are used by the single user at the time. Earlier, all the subcarriers are used by the single user. Here, for example, in 802.11 A Wi-Fi systems, nearby users share the 20 megahertz bandwidth by transmitting at the different times after contending for the channel. In these single user OFDMA systems, the multiple users can be accommodated by simply time sharing the channel. Here, therefore, a main advantage of OFDMA is flexibility in combining adaptive modulation and multiple access techniques. Next, we have a multiple access overview. Here, the multiple access strategies typically attempt to provide the non-interfering communication channels for each active station subscriber link. Here, the multiple access strategies typically attempt to provide the orthogonal, that is the non-interfering communication channels. Non-interfering communication channels for each active base station subscriber link. Yes, the most common ways to divide the available dimensions among the multiple users is through the use of frequency, time, or code division multiplexing. Here we are going to divide the available dimensions among with the multiple users through the use of frequency division multiplexing, time division multiplexing, and code division multiplexing. Here in the FDMA, each user receives a unique carrier frequency and the bandwidth. In FDMA, we are going to receive the unique carrier frequency and the bandwidth. And in time division multiple access, each user is given a unique time slot, either on demand or in a fixed rotation. Here the each time slot is given for each channel, the TDMA. Here the wireless TDMA systems almost invariably also use FDNA in some form, since using the entire electromagnetic spectrum is not allowable. The next you have orthogonal code division multiple access. The CDMA systems allows each user to share both the bandwidth and the time slots with many other users. Here in CDMA, we are going to allow each user to share both bandwidth and time slots with many users. More generally, in all CDMA systems, including the popular non-orthogonal ones, many users share the available time and frequency dimensions. Here the TDMA, FDMA and orthogonal CDMA all have almost same theoretical capacity in the additive noise channel. These three all are having equal additive noise channel capacity. The limitations of above multiple access are the FDMA, TDMA and CDMA are bandwidth or interference limited systems, and these are orthogonally is not possible in dense wireless systems. Here these techniques only guarantee orthogonality between users in the same cell. Here the different multiple access techniques have different delay characteristics and so may be appropriate for the different types of data because of having different characteristics. So it may be appropriate for the different data types. We are going to conclude that the above limitations of conventional multiple access can be mitigated by a principal merits of OFDMA. Next we have a random access versus multiple access. Here before we are going to describe in more detail how TDMA, FDMA and CDMA can be applied to the OFDMA. It is very useful to consider an alternative random access technique known as carrier sense multiple access, that is CSMA. Here the CSMA is commonly used in packet based communication systems, notably the Ethernet and wireless LANs such as 8net 2.11. Here in the random access, the user's content for the channel rather than being allocated a reserved time, frequency or code resource. Here the well-known random access techniques include Aloha and slotted Aloha, as well as CSMA in Aloha. It is going to use us simply to transmit packets without regard to the other users. Here if the packet is not acknowledged by the receiver after some period, it is assumed that last and it is going to be retransmitted. Here when the packet is not acknowledged by the receiver for some particular time, it is going to assume that it has lost the channel and it is going to retransmit the signals. This scheme becomes increasingly inefficient and delay as the intensity of the traffic increases. As many transmissions results in the collisions and hence it going to be retransmissions. So here the slotted Aloha improves and this by about a factor of 2 user transmit on specified time boundaries. Hence the collisions are about the half as likely. Here the fixed multiple access methods that are TDMA, FDMA and CDMA becomes inefficient when the traffic is bursty. Here the random access schemes dynamically assign radio resources to a large set of users, each with relatively bursty traffic. Here in the Aloha, Aloha and slotted Aloha and CSMA. Here in the Aloha, users simply transmit packets at will without regard to the other users. These schemes are becomes increasingly inefficient and delay as the intensity of the traffic increases. As many transmissions results in collisions and hence retransmissions. Here in the slotted Aloha, it improves on this by about a factor of 2, since users transmit on specified time boundaries, and hence the collisions are about half as likely. Here in the CSMA, it improves upon Aloha and slotted Aloha through the carrier sensing, in which users listen to the channel before transmitting in order to avoid the collisions whenever the possible. Easier CSMA improves upon the Aloha and the slotted Aloha through the carrier sensing, in which the users will listen to the channel before transmitting in order to avoid the collision whenever it is possible. Next, it should be noted that although FDMA and TDMA are certainly more efficient than CSMA, when all the users have packet to send, wasted frequency and time slots in FDMA and TDMA can also bring down the efficiency considerably. Here, in fact, the around half the bandwidth is typically wasted in TDMA and FDMA voice systems. Here we are going to choose CDMA for CDMA system for successful for voice transmission. Here the efficiency of the connection oriented MAC can approach 90% compared to at best 50% or less in the most CSMA wireless systems such as 802.11. We are going to conclude that the need of extremely high spectral efficiency and low delay in the LTE make impossible to use of CSMA, and the burden of resource assignments in place of base stations. Here there are three fundamental multi-carrier baseband multi-access techniques for the YFDMA system. The first one is YFDMA, FDMA. Second one is YFDM TDMA, and the third one is YFDMA CDMA. Among these schemes, YFDMA FDMA is the most straightforward YFDMA. Before going to study the YFDM and FDMA, we have differences between the FDMA, TDMA and CDMA. Here the parameters is data rate. In FDMA, the data rate is low, and TDMA it is medium, and CDMA it is having high data rates. Here the data modes are in the FDMA, it is the continuous signal. and TDMA it is signals in birds, and in CDMA that is the digital signal we are going to transmit. The techniques used in FDMA are sharing of overall bandwidth of satellite transponder. In TDMA, the sharing of time of the satellite transponder. In, in CDMA, you are going to share the bandwidth on both the time and the bandwidth. Here in FDMA, the synchronization is not required. In TDMA, you are going to use the time for the synchronization is essential. In CDMA, no synchronization is required. In FDMA, the code words are not required. In TDMA also, we doesn't require any code words. In CDMA, the code words are required by the ground station. Next we have FDMA. Here the frequency division multiple access. FDMA can be implemented in OFDM system by assigning different users their own set of subcarriers. Here the available subcarriers are distributed among the all users for the transmission at any time instant. Where there is a number of ways this allocation can be performed. Here the simplest method is a static allocation of subcarriers to each user. You can observe this graph that is left side, that is the FDMA. Here for example, in a 64-bit subcarrier OFDMA system, user 1 has take subcarriers that is 1 to 16 with users 2 and 3 with users 2 and 3. So using subcarriers, that is user 1 is having subcarriers of 1 to 16 and user 2 with 17 to 32 and user 3 is having 33 to 48 respectively. Here the each user is allocated a predetermined band of subcarriers which allows the adaptive techniques for subcarrier based on the subchannel condition. Here the allocations are enforced with a multiplexer for the various users before the FFT operation. Here we are going to the allocations are enforced with the multiplexer for the various users before the FFT operation is occurred. Here there could be also uneven allocations with high data rates, users being allocated more subcarriers than the lower rate users. Here the uneven allocations with high data rates, users being allocated to more subcarriers than the lower rate users. Here the OFDMA in LTE, however, has explicit time sharing and procedures to allow for the dynamic allocation of subcarriers. Here in OFDMA and LTE, it has explicit time sharing and the procedures to allow the dynamic allocations of the subcarriers. Here in LTE, use dynamic suballocation based upon the channel state conditions. For example, due to frequency selective fading, your user 1 may have relatively good channels on the subcarriers 33 to 48, while the user 3 might have good channel on the subcarriers 1 to 16. Obviously, it would be mutually benefited for these users to swap the static allocations. Next, we have time division multiplexing, that is TDMA. You can observe this graph. Here, each user is assigned a time slot during which all the subcarriers can be used for the particular user. Here we can assigning a separate time slot for the each user. Time slot which all the subcarriers can be used for the particular user. Here, in addition to or instead of FDMA, multiple users can also be accommodated with the TDMA. Relatively, all the wireless TDMA systems employ both FDMA and TDMA at some level, since the electromagnetic spectrum must be shared with many other users and systems. Here in the OFDMA cellular system, here some degree of TDMA is very essential, since there will generally be more users in the system than can be simultaneously carried on a single OFDMA symbol. Here further, users often will not have data to be sent, so it is also important that the subcarriers are dynamically allocated in order to avoid the waste. Here the static of TDMA is shown. Such that a static TDMA methodology is appropriate for the constant data rate, that is circuit-wise applications like voice and streaming video. But in general, a packet-based system like LTE can employ more scheduling algorithms based on queue lengths and the channel conditions, and it depends on delay constraints to achieve more better performance than the static TDMA. Here in TDMA, the adaptive loading can be performed on all the subscribers depending on their channel conditions. We are going to perform the adaptive loading. It will depend on the channel conditions. Here the number of symbols per frame can be varied based on the each user's requirement. Here we can vary the symbol per frames depending on the user's requirement. Here the power consumption reduction, that is less activity. The degradation performance should be taken in account in delay constraint systems. In the context of packet-based system, the static TDMA is often called as round-robin scheduling. Here in round-robin scheduling, each user simply waits for their predetermined turn, and then it is going to transmit the signals. Here a packet-based system like LTE can employ more scheduling algorithms based on their queue length, channel conditions, and delay constraints to be achieve more better performance than the static TDMA. Next we have CDMA, that is YFDMA, CDMA, that is code division multiple access. Here CDMA is the dominant multiple access techniques for the 3G cellular systems, at least as of year the 2009, but it is not particularly appropriate for the high speed data, since the entire premises of CDMA is that the bandwidth much larger than the data rate is used to suppress in the interference. Here the CDMA is the most dominant multiple access techniques that are used in the 3G cellular systems. Here the CDMA has a much larger bandwidth and data rate is easy to suppress the interference, as you can observe in this figure. Here in the wireless broadband networks, the data rates already are very large, so spreading the spectrum further is not viable. Even nominally, the CDMA broadband standards such as HSDPA have very small spreading factors which allow each user to employ multiple codes at the same time. They are therefore TDMA as well as CDMA or multi-code CDMA systems, since users must take turns transmitting based on scheduling objectives such as channel conditions and latency. Here in CDMA, the user data is spread over the several subcarriers or OFDMA symbols using spreading codes and combined with signals from the other users. Here are the hybrid access schemes that combines benefits. Here the first one is OFDMA, which provides a simple method to overcome the inter-symbol interference effects of the multipath frequency selective channel. And the second one is CDMA, that is provides frequency diversity and multi-user access scheme. Here the several users can transmit over the same subcarrier channels. Here in the wireless broadband networks, the data rates already are very large, so the spreading of the spectrum further is not viable. OFDMA and CDMA are not fundamentally incompatible. Here they can be combined to create a multi-carrier CDMA waveform. Here the MC CDMA is not part of the LTE standards. Next we have orthogonal frequency division multiple access. Here the OFDMA systems allocate subcarriers time frequency slices. Here a resource block, that is RB, is the smallest unit of the resources that can be allocated to a user. Here orthogonal OFDMA consists of m subcarriers or some number of consecutive OFDMA symbols in time. Here the m subcarriers can either be, first one is spread out over the band, that is if often called a distributed comb or diversity allocation. Here the distributed allocation achieves frequency diversity for the entire band and would typically rely on interleaving and coding to correct the errors caused by poor subscribers. Here in the distributed allocation achieves the frequency diversity over the entire band of the channels, and it would typically rely on interleaving coding and error correcting caused by the poor subscribers, and it is a highly mobile system. Then a distributed allocation would typically be preferred in order to maximize the diversity. Here the distributed allocation is typically preferred in order to maximize the diversity. And next we have bunched together in contiguous subcarriers, which is often called a band AMC or localized or grouped cluster. Here the band AMC mode instead attempts to use subcarriers where the SINR is roughly equal to, and to choose the best coding and modulation schemes for SINR. Here if accurate SINR information can be obtained at the receiver about each band's SINR, then the band AMC outperforms distributed subcarrier allocation. Here if the accurate SINR information can be obtained at the receiver about the each bands of SINR, then band AMC outperforms distributed subcarrier allocation. If this is not possible, for example, in a highly mobile systems, then the distributed allocation would typically to be performed in order to maximize the diversity. Next we have OFDMA, that is OFDMA downlink transmitter, and how it works. We have OFDMA downlink receiver also is there.